Good evening, good afternoon, folks. It's V the Gorilla, and I'm here with the man who needs no introduction at this point. We're talking about the misfit of mayhem himself, the one and only John J. Singleton. And folks, you can find him over at aceofcoins.com, aceofcoins, all one word.com. And join aceofcoins.club, where you not only get the life hacks, you get everything you need to create income streams, find business opportunities, and set yourself up with proper asset protection. And with that being said, John, how are you, buddy? How's it going?
I'm pretty good. I'm a little struggling out here in the water.
Well, you're floating. I know that there's a lot happening right now, and it looks like you're in the Persian Gulf.
No,
it looks like
I'm in the Atlantic. I was yesterday. I was shopping at Home Depot, having a good day. Next thing I know, I was deported.
Oh my God, that's right.
I'm out in the Atlantic right now.
Well, you're the kind of misfit that the government doesn't like to have around.
I don't know what it was. They wouldn't tell me, but I had to leave. So anyway, I'm broadcasting from the Atlantic Ocean.
That's it. This
is my raft.
You're no longer John J. You're Juan. Juan Guillermo. Man, lots going on. The rhetoric is through the roof. People are right now. They have their pooping pants on. We're on the cusp of World War III. We all know it's a bunch of BS. We bombed nothing. There was nothing that was really bombed. Iranians hit back at U.S. military bases by announcing and calling the U.S. and letting them know which bases they're actually hitting, so that we can get our personnel and our equipment out. This is some of the best Hollywood production we've ever seen in a long time, John.
You think it's fake? You think they didn't bomb the?
No, they did. They 100% did, but there's nothing there. It's all orchestrated tit for tat. And I was like, all right, now you hit me. Yeah, and now, okay, I've hit you. Okay, now you play the bad guy.
To relocate all over the place.
Exactly. It's to make the American, the mainstream sheeple think, oh look, America's tough and strong, and it makes the American population think like they're doing something. It makes the Israeli population feel like they're doing something, and it makes the Iranian population feel like that they're doing something. Everybody's the strong guy in the thing, but in the end of the day, it's the wealth of all the nations that are being pilfered and pillaged away. And the average American today, no matter what happens in the Middle East, folks, whether you need to go out and get 12,000 SPF sunscreen or not, the end of the day is you got to figure out how to make money. You got to figure out how to put food on the table and get those bills paid. And with that being said, John, I mean, considering all this, I don't know if you have any opinions on what's going on, but if you want to get into what you have, real things, real solutions, we can go into that. Whatever you want to do, brother.
Well, just to comment on what you said, if there was a nuclear attack, you would never know.
Exactly. You would never know.
What are you worried about?
No. These disgusting pieces of crap who run the United States government, they'll just go. The important ones, they'll find their way into the doomsday bunkers, and you'll be outside either picking lint from your belly button, or throwing a ball around with your kid, or running grocery errands or whatnot, and then there's a bright flash, and then next you're in a white robe, and all of a sudden you hear bring, bring.
Well, I just wonder if they can run to the mountains and hide in their bunkers. These government employees.
Nah, not with hypersonics. In the Cold War era, you could.
Let's say a scenario. Let's say they did, right?
Yeah.
They have no skills.
No, they don't. They're old. What skill does Paul Pelosi have? Recently I saw the image of Paul Pelosi about a year and a half ago when he was under his hammer attack, when his gay lover showed up to attack him with a hammer, and Paul Pelosi, who was there with just a shirt on and his underwear, was right before he got knocked out by the guy who came to get him. Right. So these people have zero life skills. They don't know what it is to survive. Right. They're dumb as hell. They're arrogant and ignorant. They're stupid.
It'll be more painful.
Absolutely. It's like, I'd rather go in a bright flash, John. How about you?
Sure.
I don't want to be left over here dealing with mutants.
I would like to witness it, but,
Huh?
I would like to witness it, but...
Yeah, me too. I'd like to see that before I go, Yeah. All right, it's a nuke. It's a 20 megaton. Okay, I'm out.
As enamored as we are with the news, we got to get to reality. You guys got to
exactly.
And so V and I we're entrepreneurs, and we like to talk about this stuff. And I like the idea that it's a strategic life, and it really is. And it's not for everybody. You got to have the stomach for it, or you got to be really crazy or stupid, I guess.
If you're a lazy person that just like to sit there, procrastinate, you like to, get caught up in the salaciousness of the news and mentally masturbate yourself over
Yeah.
it, then strategic life is not for you because it takes effort. It takes inconvenience. Oh, God forbid. What we consider inconvenience today is like
No,
normalcy back in the
we
80s and
don't have it.
90s.
We don't
Yeah.
have
It's just,
I, I, talked, I talked to somebody a couple of years ago during the fake pandemic, and he was, what was it?
John, that we can't say that word, John.
I
We're on
know.
fluff tube. Remember that.
All
It's
right.
not fake. It's a real
Yeah.
pandemic.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Quote
Oh,
unquote.
yeah. Who?
Yeah.
And so he was an engineer, and he was working for this company, and his problem was, he didn't want to go along with their phony business, and they were going to fire him. And I said, he's like 52 or something, 48 maybe. I said, why do you care? Why are you still working there? I said, you should be hiring people. You're at the age now where you should have your own thing going, man.
Yeah.
He you know what he said? He goes, you're right.
Yeah.
Said, why haven't you done that? He goes, well, it's easier just to show up every day and do what I'm told.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, man. And so what's happening is you're not challenging yourself and you're not discovering talents that you have. Everybody has so many talents. And that's a shame, because this is my coach used to always say, don't leave anything on the field.
Yeah.
Or when, in the last years of your life, are you gonna look back and say, fuck, I should have done this thing,
Yeah.
Don't
Absolutely.
be that guy.
No, exactly correct.
And to that end, let me just share a true story with you. I was that guy sometimes. I still am sometimes that kind of person. But when I was like 12 years old, my dad I'd go with him. We'd go boating in Tampa, and we would trail it behind the station wagon. And I was like, so he would say, here, John, go pay the gas bill. We pay cash, right? Back then, we would pay after we pumped the gas. So he'd give me the $20 bill, and I go in there and pay. So this one time I go in there to pay the bill. And when I walk across the islands, there's like 2 islands of gas pumps. And there's like a few people pumping gas. And I noticed a big wad of cash on the ground. And it was a lot of money. I knew it was a lot of money. It was probably, maybe $800, like in 20s or something like that. And I was kind of shocked. And I was like, wow, that looks like a lot of money. And I kept on walking because it wasn't mine.
Right.
I'm doing what my dad said. I'm not going to go take that. So I go and I pay, and I come back and I see that it's gone. So I made the mistake of telling my dad, hey, Dad, guess what? On the way over there to pay the gas, I found this big wad of cash. And he goes, where is it? I said, well, I left it there. It wasn't mine. And he goes, you what? And he got really angry, So, V and I talk about all these ideas and whatever, and maybe we're crazy and who cares what we're talking about. But maybe there's some good ideas, and maybe you're just listening to it and being entertained, and hopefully it's entertaining. But we like to see someone actually do something.
Yeah. We want you guys making money. We want you guys creating income streams. We want you guys to
cash on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. There's cash on the ground. If you're walking in an empty, think about it. That's a perfect example, John. Here you are. You're walking in the desert, right? I mean, and you're convinced to yourself it's a desert, and you happen to stumble upon an oasis, and in the oasis is a bag of cash, a couple $100,000. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna leave it out. You know what?
Wait for the next one.
Wait for the next one. And that's the typical middle class American mentality.
Because they're too comfortable.
Way too comfortable.
They're comfortable. In the 90s, I had a nice job, meaning good money, and it was very comfortable. And I never liked that. I did it for a while, and I quit. And everybody at my office said, "You're crazy. This is IBM. Why are you going to quit?" I said, "Because I'm too comfortable."
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, also, they're probably going to shut this place down anyways because it's just an experiment. And they're like, "What? Because I read the book. I read the book. I knew what IBM did, and these guys didn't know. And sure enough, 2 years later, they shut it down. But I always want to be, not always, but I like being comfortable, but not for too long.
Not for too long. It's not good, man. I get restless.
Faster.
Yes.
Yeah. So V and I were just chatted before this, and I was saying, look, I want to share an idea with you guys. And I don't mind going into some technical details about how you can make some money with just a little bit of, like, let's call it office work.
Yeah.
Keyboard type of stuff, but it's a sales job, but not like you think. It's not cold calling or anything like that. I'm going to show you how to do something that's right there that you can do. And if you're that person that's going to pick up that cash instead of walking by it, V and I are offering to do a series of podcasts to teach you the step-by-step on how to actually create this, what I'm about to explain to you. And we're going to charge you $1,000. I don't know. Maybe it's $1,000. What do you think, V? Maybe it should be $5,000. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should start it low and then work our way
Yeah,
high. So
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. People go, oh, this guy's trying to sell something. No, we're trying to educate you.
yeah. Well,
And
it's free.
real education is not free. It costs you something. When I had to learn my things, when John was learning his thing and I was learning my thing and our respective endeavors and fields, we had to pay experts, man. We had to
Yeah,
pay people in order to
or lose
learn,
money.
or lose money
You
and learn
learn by
that way.
losing money or paying people.
Exactly. One way or the other. You
Yeah,
learn by burning money or losing it
yeah.
or paying somebody else. So one way or another, it's coming out.
You're gonna
One
pay.
way or another,
You're gonna
you're
go
going
to
to pay.
school,
Yeah.
so it will cost. But yeah, so it doesn't matter because it's not. That's not where we make our money, right?
Right.
But it's going to separate people that are. We call them toads.
Yes.
They just sit there and do nothing.
Yep.
Those guys are not going to pay $1,000. But if you're the type of person that says, I need to be uncomfortable. here's $1,000. I was going to use it to do something stupid. I'll give it to you guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's part of the lesson is you pay the $1,000, and maybe we don't know what we're talking about. Maybe you're disappointed. That's the risk you take, but I don't think you will be. So you want me to introduce the idea?
Yeah, let's get into it, man.
So all around us, we like to complain about things that we don't want to do anything about. So like one example is homeowners associations. The homeowners association exists because there's a neighborhood of people that have a common interest, which means you live in my neighborhood, right? So you and I are part of an association of people that live in my neighborhood. So those associations are governed by usually corporate bodies, and they have bylaws, and they have a board of directors, and they have a servicing company, and all this infrastructure, all this overhead or whatever. And so people work together. But here's the interesting thing. These associations negotiate special pricing for like internet connections, landscaping, things that have to do with your house. You name it. I'm sure y'all have some sort of special thing in different neighborhoods. So what I'm thinking is you can negotiate. You don't have to be in this neighborhood. You can just be in the town somewhere, and with letter writing and maybe some personal visits, maybe some offers in the mail, phone calls, work out an arrangement where you've already figured out who supplies to grocers and restaurants non-perishable items. And people are going to buy them. They're going to buy them. Why? If you could get them at, let's say, 30%, 50% discount, because you can say, I have 12,000 people in my membership network, like Costco does. You already have the membership out there. You can have 3 HOAs, 10 HOAs, 5, whatever you want. And you have now the leverage that Costco has, or something like it. It's not exactly that much, but you can then negotiate better pricing for these consumer goods. I would go with non-perishable. It's kind of the better way to go. And then what would happen is you can figure out how you take delivery, who makes those deals, but you can set up the contracts and do it that way for HOAs, and you don't have to even live there. So what does it look like for you? How are you going to make money? Well, you're going to there's a spread. So you're the buyer's agent, and you pay yourself. So you're an independent contractor. So there's already a profession known as buyer's agents. Many buyer's agents are actually employees of the retailer. You don't have to be. You can be a buyer's agent, set up the contracts, and organize these things, and you can just do it endlessly. Now, that's just one idea. Very basic overview.
Right. Exactly. And that's the whole entire thing here, man. It's like people don't realize that these are some of the hacks that people could do that are simple, that takes a little bit of effort, but you get the ball rolling. It can provide an income for you.
Now, we could even do this. We could take it to another level. Another level meaning that it's kind of like exponents in mathematics. I'm multiplying numbers, or then I'm multiplying groups of numbers with exponents, right? Well, if I'm doing a sales operation like this, and I have HOA signed up to be my customer, like members. If I have a membership HOA, I've just acquired how many members are in that HOA in one contract. That's really powerful, right? Well, what if I have a whole thing set up to where I have a list of my suppliers, and I've got all the contracts, I have all the business plans, I have a corporate setup, I have a structure, I have everything ready to go, and I call that a distributorship. It's my idea, and I can sell it to you for $20,000. It's a business, and I can copy that here. Imagine there's 10,000 cities in the country, I think. 3,600 counties, I think, roughly in all 50 states. So if you did it by county, you wouldn't be having much competition. If 8 of you did this, you wouldn't even talk to each other, really. You wouldn't even know, you wouldn't even be competing with each other, really. You just stay in your county or 2 or 3 of your counties.
Right. Exactly.
You could take it to a whole new level like that. Distributorship, take the whole plan, sell that by itself, or actually do it. Put all the contracts together, make the money. You handle the money, take your cut. Everybody's happy. You got consumer discount goods. Now you're the virtual Costco.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. And there are people that are creating these associations as well, John, and then also creating where people pay into it, and they are, calling up corporations for either special access to products and services that are sold through the association, where the association can profit from the selling of this. It's powerful. At that point, you're almost taking it to some sort of a network affiliate type marketing that you're creating from scratch, and most people are not even looking at that.
I'm just talking about non-perishable goods, but what about memberships like gym memberships? If you could broker those deals like at a gym membership, what do you think the gym membership would pay you to bring them 800 people?
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. That's worth a lot of money. If you can get them into a contract month to month, where most people, when they join a gym, whether they use the gym or not, they're pretty much locked in for at least a year.
Well, imagine you get the HOA to do a vote and get people to agree to pay more money in their dues because of the membership benefits for the gym.
Yes.
Now it's locked in.
Yeah.
Now I could just go to the gym and say, look, guys, you already got a check.
Yep.
These guys may never show up.
Exactly.
They're going to pay every time.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, that's another example. I mean, you could do all kinds of variations of that idea.
Absolutely. And you could apply for, people don't know this. There are people that have done these associations and called Nike.
Okay.
I've heard of this. They've called Nike they buy as a group from Nike. They get specific discounts on, very rare sneakers, right? The sneakers that are, typically very hard to get. But Nike sees, hey, you know what? This person has buying power, and most people don't realize is when it comes to like Nike, when it comes to a lot of retail goods, you can go from shoes to cars to travel stuff, right? There are things that are hard to get that oftentimes scalpers would buy up very quickly and sell for double the price, but the scalper is purchasing it the same way you would. But they have a hack where they have multiple accounts and the bots that buy it all at once. That's how they do it. But if you have an association membership, that's bargaining power. And I've known of dudes who've created associations where they're getting everything from like golf course access that they're reselling to high-end footwear and fashion that's being resold to even brokering of automobiles. And I'm not talking about, they're selling a Honda Civic. I'm talking about they're selling Ferraris. Okay? Yeah. And they're brokering deals like that. So and they have it in a way where whoever the dealer or the manufacturer or the vendor is, they do all the heavy lifting. The group is just handling the front end sales.
Yeah.
It's extremely lucrative.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that would be just something you could just do. I mean, you could have thousands of people doing that and they're never competing with each other.
Yeah. People don't realize buying power, right? It's like,
yeah.
Everybody's hung up on World War III. Well, let's profit from World War III.
Exactly.
What about long-term storage foods? You call up one of those manufacturers, hey, here's the deal, man. I'm representing an association. We'd like to buy X amount at X discount at wholesale, below wholesale. Whatever your wholesale is, we want 10% off. Let's go. You could do that with gold. You could do it with so many.
Yeah. The survival type products, survival, whatever, skills, whatever products, those have been popular for a long time and those new products have been developed since the 70s. And only the people that real extremists were the first ones to adopt them and learn how to use them and then teach survival skills. And then as we get into the 90s in the 2000s, more of the population, including myself, started looking at these things because they're becoming more aware of the possibility of the need for understanding and using these types of things, these practices or whatever. Now those people, now a whole new group of people, a larger group of people, they're waking up. And they're seeing that they feel like there's a need to learn survival skills. And it's more popular than ever to teach survival skills in group settings and sell the products that go with it, like bushcraft, for example. It's getting even more popular.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, the way the world's going now, I saw this meme, John, where it says, geez, living in the middle of the woods, arguing with the raccoon seems like the perfect retirement idea. Like, at some point, I'm just sick. And I'm hearing stuff like, oh, Palantir is going to, it's gonna rake your data and your data points, and they're gonna tell you what your social credit score is. And folks, you can just get you legally can look. This is a voluntary system. I hope you know that your enslavement is voluntary. You don't have to be a slave. You can leave. You don't have to. Yeah.
You're claiming to be a victim. You're acting like a victim, and you're not.
No. Oh, I don't want to.
And here's what I do when I get pissed off at something that someone's collecting my data, and I go, damn, I can't avoid it. I'm wanting to get this thing, and I have to give up this data, right? I don't do the biometric stuff, but I know at some point I'm probably gonna have to do it if I want to live in modern society. I just slap a lien on that data and move on. Yeah. And like, think about it, guys. Tesla is collecting your data. You have no idea what kind of data that those Tesla cars are collecting.
Everything, every telemetry you could imagine. Data. It's tracking where your eyes are going. Everything.
Yeah. Think about. Okay, if you're Tesla and you sell the Tesla, that's one thing. But look at what all the cameras on there and audio and in the inside, and it's connected to your phone, and it's so convenient. I'm gonna use my phone, and now where's that phone connected? Everything, your bank account, your credit, it's all connected. Now you're driving around town. Anyone, whoever has access to this data, can use an AI application to go and ask the question, where are all the streets this person drove on at what time, and just get a whole map instantaneously out of thousands of people for like 1 hour. This computer can just isolate you and get all your data, find out where you like to go shopping, visiting, wherever. That's how readily available it is. So this data is extremely valuable, and I wouldn't second guess for a second that it's not being sold to the Department of Transportation. Sold your Tesla data as you're driving around. Imagine what happens when there's a collision, right?
Yeah.
And the Tesla's not involved, but the Tesla has the data on it.
Huge. Absolutely.
We haven't seen yet that I know of cases in court where there's, damage claims or whatever, and testimony is obtained from whoever's collecting the data from your Tesla to bring in the video footage from your car that you're not even a part of that proceeding, but your data that you got from because you drove by is going to be in the court record.
Right. and not only that, I mean, insurance companies are paying out the wazoo.
Yeah. It's better for the actuarials too, because they're going to get more accurate data, but they're not going to pass any profit on to us. The insurance companies will just make more money because of better data. They'll have better actuarials about how people drive based on, age and demographics and all this stuff. They'll just dial it in better. So, but anyways, it's just we don't want to be complaining, right? Find something that appeals to you. Hopefully this appeals to you, this idea. I haven't done it, but I have 12 other things I'm doing. It's just what V and I talk about. We talk about things like this, and I thought I'd bring it to y'all today, and you guys can just give it some thought. And maybe we can do something like we can announce a payment thing, right, where people can just register, and then I can just do a series. I'll do like 5 podcasts, or you and I can do it, or something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun. I think it's fun. I love talking about this stuff.
Absolutely. And this is what people need, man. I think people are just listening to all the gloom and doom, and people are sitting there and be like, oh my God, all right, where do I get 12,000 SPF sunscreen? It's got to be somewhere on Amazon, maybe eBay, maybe something from China. I'm not sure. Maybe, what do I do? Long-term storage food. Let me get my dog food because, long-term storage food is sold out. Maybe I need to head to the bunker. Look, your slavery is voluntary. You don't have to have an iPhone. You don't have to have an Android phone. You could have a Graphene OS phone, which is just as awesome, super secure. You don't have to voluntarily give your data to every single person on God's green earth. You can check out, but understand you need to live differently, and you need to understand and be willing to pay the price to live differently.
Have a strategy.
don't even bother. What is the point of watching all this stuff on alternative media and on mainstream media and having the crap scared out of you and worry and stress and whatnot, and then you do nothing about it, but you just like being stressed? It's like some sort of weird masochism that people have, John. You know?
They identify with this. I'm telling
They
you.
do.
I had a client yesterday. For years, I helped him through a whole process where he was in a debt collection situation. I made him uncollectible.
Yeah.
And then in the end days, the bank got a judgment lien and they're trying to take his stuff, but they can't, with one exception. There was one thing he just didn't do. And I told him, this is a big thing. You have to do this. And you know how I am, right?
Yeah.
I gave him everything, but he has to go off and do it,
Right.
So he didn't do it. And he's almost on the verge of crying. He got me on the phone and I said, what? Yeah. So there's a remedy. I can fix it. I can go and they took his money because he didn't do the thing I told him to. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to do the work because I don't want to make money on the guy for that work. And I have to justify my time. So he finally said, it would be really great if you could help me write this document. And I said, it'd be really great if you can send me $1,000 to write it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, I just, cause I want to do stuff. Right. So I was just, at the end of the day, I was like, I'm just going to show him something. And I went on my computer, I went to the Chat GPT. Okay. This is just your generic AI. And in 3 minutes and 28 seconds, I wrote the most beautiful document to do this one thing that will get his money back in 3 minutes.
Wow.
And so I gave it to him. I just gave it to him. I mean, I just, have to do that, but I'm just saying you can go do things. You don't have to be a victim. Right. He wanted to be a victim and I wouldn't let him.
No, exactly. That's what people want. It's like, people are so beaten down. They feel that they deserve whatever they get. That they should, you get what you get and you can't get upset.
Like it's the weather.
Like it's the weather,
If you're not getting what you want, maybe you have to work harder.
Correct.
Or work smarter. Because sometimes I've found myself working to a dead end. You got to try a different way of doing something sometimes. So, But anyways, I like to be creative. You like to be creative. We have these ideas. I'm sure if we sit here next week, we'll have more ideas. But I wouldn't mind sharing that with you guys. And if you're interested, maybe we can do a series of podcasts and you guys can have, a little mini membership type deal going.
Yeah. And guys, for you guys to come on board right there, aceofcoins.com, aceofcoins.com. It's right in the chat, aceofcoins.com. Go there, and that's where you contact John, and we can get you going on what needs to get done. So that's super important, guys. Super important. John, anything else? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just something different, right? It's going to create some interaction with our audience.
Right.
And you guys got to put money on the table. You got to take a risk.
You got to take the risk.
And don't be a whiner. If you don't like the results, sorry, but I think you will.
Exactly. We're not giving you insider advice to some meme coin that's being launched next week that could possibly.
So you can speculate and
so you can sit
keep
there
your
and
addiction
speculate.
going.
Exactly. Keep your addiction going. We don't have any doom and gloom to sell you. We just got solutions. And here's the thing. You know what? It works so long as you work. It works so long as you are resourceful. And that's the whole key. You got to learn. You have to unlearn all these bad habits you developed and this core programming. And it is a program, folks. You've been all programmed in some regard. And what we're trying to do is unwrite and rewrite a new we got to unwrite the old program and rewrite a new one. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to create a new way of thinking, a mind that always looks for opportunities in the chaos, opportunities in the storm. John, anything else you'd like to add?
One last thing, man. What I do, someone asked me this today. Here's my answer to the question. Find out what it is you want. So make a list of what you want. So many people are so confused with the noise and technique and whatever. And forget all that stuff. Forget what you're seeing on the news. Like you're saying, man, forget the programming attempts and write down on a piece of paper, make it in words, what it is that you want in the next 3 years in your life. What changes do you want to make? What do you want to make more money? Do you want to travel more? Whatever. And then you figure out from that end result how you can get there. Yep. You'll be surprised. You'll come up with things you never thought of before once you start that way. Whereas if you're just like thinking, wow, what John said is great, I'm going to do it. And then you're not steering toward a direction. Like, why are you going to do that?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Exactly.
just, one last thing I'll throw at you.
Yep.
Have the end result, where you're going for.
Exactly. Very well said. Folks, thank you for listening. And again, it is John J. Singleton over at aceofcoins.com. Aceofcoins.com. Don't be a victim. Remember, your slavery is voluntary. You don't have to go living like this. You don't have to go thinking like this. Start a new day. Begin a new path that will set you and your family free and profit from the chaos. Learn how to live a very strategic life. With that being said, folks, we are over and out. See you all tomorrow. Cheers.